Hello and welcome to this week's weekly forecast video for week commencing the 5th of September 2022. We are charging into autumn. The kids are going back to school. What on earth's going on in the energy right now, right? So we've got the overview of the week laid out here in front of us. Then we will go day by day, finishing up with a spiritual guidance message at the end. So do stay tuned for that. There will also be timestamps in the description below so that you can jump back in throughout the week. Just check on each day's energy as we go along. And I do recommend that you do that. So let's dive on in and take a look at what's coming up for the next 7 days. So, right, where are we? What's going on? What's happening here? So our cards, we have number 5, obstacles and challenges. We have another 5, consciousness, a consciousness of lack. And we have another 5 on a 59 with the starfish spirit mind reminding us to be open to infinite possibility. So this feels very much like a week where our mind could run away with us. It may be that we've started a new job, started a new business, or want to do that, but we're really not worried. Not feeling, we are worried perhaps that we're not up to the task, that we're not doing a very good job at it. Perhaps we're worried we won't be able to make enough money. Perhaps we're concerned that it'll just be too much for us. It feels very much like minds may be spiraling a little bit this week. So we may need to rein in the ego mind, the monkey mind, if it starts to run away. And just reminded of the wisdom of the 9 that comes in here with the starfish spirit, reminding us, you know what? We've done this all before. This isn't our first rodeo. This isn't even our first lifetime. We can absolutely do this. Yes, we can achieve. Yes, we can do things. We just have to step out of difficult thought patterns. We have to step away from difficult memories that don't serve us anymore and realize that the world really is very abundant, and there is so much abundance for all of us, which is something that I've been working with this past sort of few weeks, this energy. My guides reminding me very much there is so much abundance in the universe and showing me new aspects of what that looks like and what true abundance truly looks like, because it's easy to sort of lose sight of that when we live in this Western world where it's all dog eat dog, you know, the winner takes the prize, and you know that the one who wins is the one who dies with the most toys. And so this brings us on to the question, what is the truth? And where does it lie? What is your truth? Where is it? Okay, what is true for you? What does success look like for you? And are you being unrealistic about what you think you should be doing? Maybe you're beating yourself up because you're not living in the big house with the big car or whatever, but is that what you really want? Or is that just what you think you want? And it comes in on this very creative number 30. It's almost a coming of age in our manifesting with 30 here. It's like we have an opportunity to redesign our life if we choose to do so. We have this whole opportunity now to completely redesign what our life looks like. And that includes what it feels like, what we do, where we live, how we live, what we do, who we spend time with, what we prioritize and what we deprioritize as well. And I think a lot of people right now are really coming to the conclusion that what we were taught was success, which was, you know, the house, the car, the job, the money, the holidays. Maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be, because most of us have been burnt out from chasing our tails, trying to achieve that goal, chasing after that carrot and never quite making it. And there's a good reason for that, because we were never going to make it, because we were absolutely in the wrong energy to be able to manifest that level of abundance and be able to enjoy it. Most people just can't do that. You know, we have way too much healing to do to actually move beyond our wounded self, which keeps us in poverty, keeps us in lack, keeps us in doubt, even if we have lots of money, keeps us unhappy. And there's very much a reminder here about truth. What is the truth of your life? Okay, what is it that you truly lack, if anything? Because it may be that you don't actually lack anything at all when you take the time to look at it. So, and with this card as well, number 29, the road is long. There's a nice little reminder there for this week that, you know what, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Your lifetime will be as long as it is, you know, and it's probably not going to be very short. You've got plenty of time. There's no rush. There's no hurry. You can, you know, take your foot off the accelerator pedal right now. It's just not necessary. Maybe it's time to stop striving. Maybe it's time to stop struggling. to let go of some of those difficult energies, those things we put ourselves through where we beat ourselves up. Maybe it's time to stop doing that. Stop trying to sprint, burning out, sprint, burn out, sprint, burn out. That's not how you run a marathon. Again, like I said last week, I don't know anything about running, but I'm pretty sure that's not how you run a marathon. By sprinting, then burning out, and sprinting, then burning out again. That's not how it's done. You need to take a much steadier pace, a much slower pace. And in some ways, I want to say a much more leisurely pace in life, and focus on what the possibilities are in life and where the joy lies, because that may actually be the crux of what your truth is. So let us move on to Monday. We'll go through the days of the week now. So Monday's cards, we have number 15, Temptation. In a traditional tarot deck, this is the devil, as you can quite clearly see. So number 3, Increase. And number 20, the Dolphin Spirit, This and That Are True. So, now this is interesting because this is very much following on from what I was saying is the energy for the whole week. It's about reviewing our lives, reviewing abundance, understanding abundance from a higher standpoint, from a higher spiritual standpoint than we may have even been able to before. And we may have thought that we understood these truths because we understood them intellectually, but we didn't actually understand them insofar as we weren't living them, so we didn't truly understand them on that deeper level. And I think that's what's coming into play on Monday. There is certainly a big question on Monday, and I'm recording this on Monday, so that's today, about money and about how we achieve more. So it's about how to increase the abundance in our life without going into the darker energy, without going into the more what you might call satanic energy, you know, the temptation energy, the lower vibrations, the dog eat dog, the stepping on other people to do well, and how we rectify where the path actually lies. Yes, we want to increase our abundance, but we don't want to fall into that energy again. So, and it comes through with this beautiful reminder from the Dolphin Spirit, with This and That Are True, that yes, you can be abundant, and yes, you can be deeply spiritual. And in fact, if you are deeply spiritual and very advanced being, or if you're an avatar or something like that, and I don't know if there's any avatars watching, but hi if you're there. And by avatar, I mean an enlightened being. I don't know if there are any on Earth at the moment. I like to think that there are, and they'd watch this video. But we can absolutely achieve that kind of level of enlightenment and the abundance at the same time, which will follow suit. It will, but not in that way, not in the old way. And this is the old way of the old energy that we're moving out of as well. It's how things used to seem to work in this world, in this realm, in this kind of 3D video game that we all live in. But we're very much moving out of that darker, slower, more difficult vibration now into a very, very different cycle. And it is a very different cycle. And if you look on this card, as the path goes up to like this manor house or castle at the end, there are these beautiful crystals along the way. And I was saying to a client earlier that I feel it represents balancing of different aspects of the selves, of the different of the self, of the different colours of the chakras that these crystals correspond to as we move along the path. And we do have to understand the different aspects of ourselves. We have to heal the different aspects of ourselves before we can truly move into true abundance. And it doesn't matter how much money we have on the outside, we may not be living in true abundance, even if you're a millionaire, even if you're a billionaire, if you're still in this very dark kind of satanic energy. So it is very much going to be a day. Let's see now. Memories. What does love mean to you? Yes, it is a day where we may be thinking about the future, thinking about money, thinking about how we do things, what our lifestyle is, what we'd like it to be like, and what's actually missing in our lives. Because abundance isn't just about money, it's having abundance of love, it's having an abundance of joy. And just before I came to camera here, I was actually reading a little excerpt from A Course in Miracles, which is a book I like very much. And it was saying about how God wants you to have joy. God wants you to have love. God wants you to be happy. Or whatever you call deity, goddess, it really doesn't matter what name you have for that same energy. But it was very, very meaningful to me that that was coming through on a day where I have very much been contemplating abundance, and that is the energy today, contemplating abundance. And it comes in as well with this card, memories, on 40, and 40 is kind of like a coming of age number as well. I said that for 30 as well, but 40 is the number of viability. So I feel it's about reconciling everything that we've learnt to date. So everything that's happened to us to date, that's all a memory. It's all in the past. It no longer exists in our reality except in our mind. The past can only hurt us here in the mind. It can't physically hurt us anymore. And I do mean that about experiences. You know, if you have physical injuries which still hurt you, you know, fair enough. I don't mean that exactly. But most of our past experiences that hurt us, they can only hurt us if we choose to let them hurt us through the mind. And that doesn't have to be the case. And with this card number 8, what does love mean to you? Or what does abundance mean to you? Love is abundance. Abundance is love. You know, it is that energy. That is what God is. I mean, we learn that at primary school in England because we have religious education built into the school system here, or certainly when I was at school. And I remember there was a hymn that said, God is love. That was the first line. And I did not understand what that meant at the time. That meant nothing to me whatsoever. But that's extremely meaningful to me now. And I very much understand that. But what does love mean to you? What does God mean to you? What does abundance mean to you? What is spirituality? What does sacredness mean to you? And it's a reminder as well on this number 8. And number 8 can be about abundance. It can be about money. It can be about being very successful and having all of these beautiful things in your life if they bring you joy, if they bring you happiness, if they enable you to make the world a more beautiful, more wonderful place. What's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. And I was thinking as well about how kind of in the New Age community, if you want to call it such, I don't consider us a community as such, but I suppose that's a better descriptor than any. There's kind of this toxic positivity thing where people have this opinion or say that, you know, you're somehow doing it wrong if you're not rich. Okay, you're doing abundance wrong if you're not rich. You're doing manifesting wrong if you're not rich yet. But that's not necessarily true. And I just want to counter that. And I do want to say, yes, you're not living in abundance if you're poor, struggling, sick. That's not what living in abundance looks like. Okay. But equally, being rich and powerful isn't necessarily what it looks like either. Living in abundance to me, as I'm beginning to understand it on my own spiritual path, is actually about living on a higher plane of existence. It's about becoming more enlightened, having deeper spiritual experiences, getting what you might say closer to God in some ways, not that anyone's any closer or further apart in reality, but sensing it, realizing it, coming to these new spiritual realizations, having these experiences, these kundalini risings or whatever you want to call it, having these enlightenment moments where you realize you are getting closer to God. And as you get closer to that frequency and you move to these higher frequencies and energies, and things start to make so much more sense, and we let go of the older, heavier, denser energies, that's abundance to me. And then you notice when you get into these energies and stay there for any length of time, stuff just shows up. And I didn't fully understand this concept before. I mean, I've read about it, like a guru goes somewhere and stuff just shows up when he needs it to, and, you know, almost without him thinking about it or asking it. But that is how it works. It just shows up, and it doesn't necessarily show up as great abundance and wealth. You know, it could just be the right thing at the right moment. And I don't mean like last minute in the nick of time, oh, I was really, really worrying, and oh, this poor little crumb showed up for me. It's not about playing small. It's about being so at peace with yourself, and with the world, and with the universe, and with life itself, I suppose, that you're absolutely okay and everything shows up exactly when you need it, right on cue. And you hardly have to ask because you're so in tune with it all. That's true abundance to me, and that's what I'm really starting to learn and understand now. And I said in my book on manifesting, you know, which if you haven't read it, I'll put a link in the description below, which is about the law of attraction. What's it called? Dream Bigger. I should know that, Helen. It's your book. You should know this. Dream Bigger, how the law of attraction really works. I have alluded to this in my book, but I'm kind of reaching new levels of understanding of it right now. And it is absolutely fascinating. So I would love to hear about your journey with abundance and manifesting and how that's going for you. So please do leave me, you know, a comment in the in the section below. I'd love to hear how you're getting on with that, because it's such a deep energy today, and I apologise if I'm rambling a little bit, but it's such a deep energy. It really touched me today, so I really wanted to expand on that and just mention that. So, Tuesday. Monday was all about the money. What's Tuesday about? Tuesday we have number 8, emotional withdrawal. We have the status quo on a number 2. And we have 22, Dragonfly Spirit, and we have an extra card because 2 came out, so we also have 66, White Raven Spirit, Trust the Magic. Trust in the Magic. There we go, let's pop him there. So we can see both of these cards. So this is really some quite sacred numerology that's coming out here to start with. So it's interesting because we're starting on this green number 8, which is a card that speaks of the heart and emotions generally. But we're coming out with the 8, which can be abundance, but it can also be endurance and going through all of the seasons and dealing with everything that life throws at us, and being strong enough to deal with everything that life throws at us. And then we get to this card, status quo, which has a number 2. And then we have the Dragonfly 22 next to it. So we have a 222 pattern here, which is very powerful energy. 222 is about emotion. Again, 2 is such an emotional number, but it's also about balance, balancing emotions. So I feel on Tuesday we have an opportunity to balance some rather big emotions, to really have some clear understandings of what's going on in our life. And it may feel like life's at a little bit of a standstill on Tuesday. It doesn't feel like the most dynamic energy, but it feels very important that we have this quiet moment, that we have this standstill, so that we can reach new levels of understanding about ourselves, our emotions, and about relationships as well, which seems to be very, very important. And it's almost like the world will come to a standstill on Tuesday. Maybe people really taking stock of what's happening in the world and the part that we play in that, because we do all play a part. No one is truly a spectator. If you are here existing in this reality, you are not truly a spectator. You are a part of the energetic soup. You are in there. You are having an influence, and I want you to remember that. So if you're not happy with what's going on, send healing to other people. Send healing to yourself. Do healing. Do your own healing. Heal your shadow. Integrate your shadow. That will have a huge impact on the collective, on the people around you. And that's so important to remember, especially if we ever feel helpless, like we can't stop what's happening. Maybe people are struggling. There are wars, that we want to help. We want to change things. Change yourself. That is what will change things. Change yourself. Work on yourself. That's what will change the thing, rather than shouting at the other person, getting angry with the other person, projecting anger onto them. That doesn't help. You've got to heal the thing within you that is the problem to help solve the problem. Okay, so I just want to bring in this card here as well. So we have Sovereign Being on a 21-3. So again, we're going to go another 2 now. Got more 2 energy coming in. Which is interesting to see. But there's a reminder of just how powerful you are in this whole situation. Even if world events seem to be getting away from you, even if it feels like you don't really have any influence, you absolutely do. And you also have the right to say no to things. And on Tuesday, I want you to look very carefully at the things that you can influence, that maybe you should influence in the right ways by doing your own healing. But also what you want to create for the world. Do you want to create a world where everyone is subservient to a ruling class? Because if you do, that's great, go for it. But if that's not what you want, then remember that you're a sovereign being and that you can say no to things. You can refuse things. You can refuse to give consent, which is particularly important. And the dark forces that have been running the world for so long, they know that they cannot do things without our consent. They cannot do it either without express or implied consent. It must be given, and you don't have to give it. Okay, it doesn't matter if they put a gun to your head, you don't have to consent, and that's always up to you. Or if it feels like they've put a gun to your head, they may not have actually done it, they may just imply that they're going to, which is one of their tricks, one of the fear tricks that they use on us. Oh, we'll take this away from you if you don't do that, and then they don't actually do that anyway, because that would be unethical. But, and again, we've got this 66 energy coming in here with the White Raven Spirit, and I said... I was saying earlier to somebody that this should be called the baby White Raven Spirit because it looks like a little fledgling. Look at him. Look at his plumage. He doesn't look like a fully fledged adult. Looks like a little fluffy baby, who barely knows his way in the world. And yet, with Trust in the Magic, this is a very sacred energy with that sacred 66 there. And I apologise if you hear aeroplanes because I think Bournemouth Air Show is kind of winding down today. And I live quite nearby, so it's a little bit noisy at the moment. But 66 is a very sacred number. It's twice 33, which is the Christ consciousness. And it is, for me, it's very much the higher expression of the heart. So it's where the human heart meets the spiritual heart. It's like the heart chakra meets the higher heart chakra. It's where those two energies come together. And that's where real magic can actually happen and can start to manifest in the world. And then just to back that message up, we have feathers from heaven on a very transformative 46-10-1. So yes, you can trust in the universe, trust that there is so much support for you. Ask the angels to support you and help you if you need that help and support today. If you feel stuck, if you feel afraid, ask for them to step in. Remember that angels can only help us if we ask. Again, it's all about consent and permission. The laws of the universe require consent and permission. If you don't ask, you don't get. Okay, so remember to ask on Tuesday. Now we're going to move on to Wednesday. Let's take a look at Wednesday's cards. I'm going to try not to knock my camera off my desk. That would be good. Wednesday, we have number 6, Memories of Love. We have number 3, Letting Go. And we have number 50, Rhino Spirit. That's very beautiful. Interesting. Wednesday, very much a day for letting go of old energetic patterns we don't need anymore, particularly to do with romance, to do with love. So it could be about family connections, it could be about letting go of guilt, old emotional patterns that we've had from the past, letting go of toxic partners. It may be literally about ending romantic relationships or friendships. And in some ways it is about growing up, because we have a very powerful number 50 here. It feels like we've had the numbers increasing as we've gone along. We've had 30, 40, and now we've got 50 showing up as well. So it does feel like a lot of progress is being made this week on a spiritual level. It feels like a huge amount of progress happening. But Wednesday, it does feel like there may be a little bit of a dip in the energy. It may not be the happiest day, it may be a little bit stressful, but at the same time it's highlighting the things that we need to let go of, the things that no longer serve us, the things that we used to do, how we used to do things, the things that we used to say in relationships, things we used to do, whether it's relationships at work, in romance, with friends, family, it doesn't really matter. And it comes in with a very, very steady, very mature energy on the Rhino Spirit, that we can overcome any obstacle, because we can. And I think humankind is starting to learn that, or portions of humanity are starting to realise that, yes, we absolutely can overcome every obstacle. There is nothing that's too great for us, because we are such a powerhouse of energy, such a powerhouse of manifesting. We can create anything in this 3D video game that we all live in, and I just want to say, the world is not doomed. The world is not dying. Everything's fine. It's going to be fine. Calm down. It's okay. Yes, it would help if we all pulled together in more positive directions. But I want to say that we are not we're not facing a looming disaster right now. Okay, we're just not. Energetically, that can't happen. If nothing else, energetically, that cannot happen. Be interesting to have a look at the astrology today. Now, as I hasten to add, I am not an astrologer, as I always say. But it would be interesting, because it does feel like there is some sort of astrological alignment today, which is actually helping us to let go of the past. And I feel as well, this feels like a big milestone on letting go of the previous age, letting go of the age of Pisces, letting go of the age of metal, I think it's called, as we move into the Bronze Age. I forget exactly where we are in the procession right now. The procession is where you go through the different ages of gold, silver, bronze, and I think it's metal, which is the darkest, densest energy, which is the one we've been coming out of. And I think we're currently in a Bronze Age, if memory serves. But please do correct me in the comments if that's wrong, because I don't recall off the top of my head, and I can't be bothered to look it up. But it does feel like this is a really key day, energetically, spiritually. This is a very key day for really putting some pieces together and leaving some things behind, closing some of these metaphorical doors on things we just don't need anymore, letting go of some of those crazy dogs that are pulling us back. Just let go of the string. The dog's pulling you back. The cord could represent an energetic attachment, okay, that's holding you back, preventing you from moving forwards into this much more happy or enlightened life. Let go of the cord, just let go of the rope. There is no one saying you have to hold on to it. You're not walking this little cosmic trickster dog here. You don't have to keep him around. He will go on his merry way. And there is this important reminder here that yes, we are all absolutely unique and different. And wow, isn't that noticeable right now? Because everyone is trying so hard to be so unique and so different and have their own unique pronouns to the point where it's getting a bit silly. But we are all one at the same time. We are absolutely all one. We are just different expressions of the same beautiful love energy. Every single one of us, we all have a purpose here. Every single one of us, you know. So there is a reminder, there is reassurance coming in here that everything's okay. All right, everything is okay. This isn't about trying to force other people to do things. And, you know, have you ever tried to force a rhino to do something? Good luck with that. They're not particularly cooperative when they don't want to be. So just bear in mind there is nothing that we need to do other than to let go of the things within ourselves that no longer serve. That's all we need to do today. If you find yourself up against a brick wall, stop pushing. It's like when you reach the bottom of the hole, stop digging. That's your advice for today. So let's move on to Thursday. That's what comes after Wednesday. I knew that. Right. So Thursday's cards, we have number 16, disruption. This is always a tricky energy. We have number 7, joyous fun. And we have number 58, stag spirit, take the lead. Now, interesting. That is a mixed bag of cards. So, Thursday almost feels like somebody may be trying to lead you off course. And I mean this in a on the more spiritual level. Somebody may be trying to lead you off course. And we had that kind of trickster energy with the devil card right at the beginning on Monday, which I'll just pull out again with this card. It feels like there's temptation energy coming into the mix today. But you've got to remember, when temptation shows up, you always have a choice. You don't have to skive off and go to the park and muck around when you should actually be buckling down, because Thursday's energy is very potent. Thursday's energy has a huge amount of potential, and I feel we may be tested on Thursday as to how serious we are about the things that we want to do and achieve. And these would be things that are good for us, you know, that we need to do either in our work, on our spiritual path, or things that we've promised ourselves we would do, that we would follow through on. And I feel it's that follow through that's being tested on Thursday. So see what comes up for you on Thursday. See what you should be doing and what you haven't done on Thursday, because that's going to be quite telling. And if any temptation comes up, whether it's an ex-partner who you know is bad for you, will take your life in the wrong direction, accepting a job you know you don't want is going to make you miserable, or just being lazy and failing to do something that you promised yourself you would do. That's Thursday's energy, and it is going to be very, very challenging. And again, with this card on the 49 here, we've got a little naughty little snake here, because some people will intentionally misunderstand you. Let me just read that again. Some people will intentionally misunderstand you. Some people will intentionally try to drag you in the wrong direction, try to put you in a box and make out that you're doing something you're not. And your first impulse may be, oh, well, I have to correct that person because they think this thing about me and I can't possibly have them thinking that about me, so I need to try and fix this somehow. Stop. Okay. Your job is not to manage how other people see you. Okay. Because some people are going to see you in a different way just for the hell of it, or just because it's a reflection of how bad, how broken, how upset, how unhappy they feel inside. It may have absolutely nothing to do with you, anything you've done, or anything you even could do. So try not to worry, and be very careful of the tricksters who try to pull you off path on Thursday, because remember, many of us right now, we are very much moving into a new energy. You may feel like you've kind of got one foot in this world and one foot out of it some of the time, and you're not sure exactly why. It is because we are ascending. You know, our vibration is increasing for many of us doing our spiritual work, doing our healing work. We are increasing in vibration. We are changing. But that growth starts small. So it is kind of the green shoots, energetically speaking, at the moment. But also you may be going in a new direction. You may have a YouTube channel like me that you're trying to grow. You know, you may have a new project, something that you promised to do. And you must follow through on that if you want it to grow. When you're growing a garden, you know, you must keep up with the watering, with the fertilizing, with the weeding. You have to tend to that garden now. Okay, and there may be nobody else doing that around you. Everybody else may be sloping off and, you know, going down the pub. Okay, and you may be literally the only person buckling down and doing what needs to be done. And I like it, so I said buckling down because we have like a stag, like a buckling down. Okay, humour, not my strong point, but and it comes through on a very practical 58. Okay, now I've said before, 58 is one of my numbers. 58, 13, 4. 58s get things done. If you want something done, you go to a 58. That's why if you want stuff done, when I used to be in the corporate world, you go to Helen to get it done. And it comes through with very, very can-do energy. So that support, that can-do energy is there on Thursday. It's already there for you. You just have to resist the temptation to fall back into those old patterns, to be deceived. And what is it in the Bible called Satan, the great deceiver? You know, it's that deceptive energy that tricks you and tries to tempt you into doing the thing you shouldn't be doing. So that's what I want you to remember on Thursday. The day has huge potential, but it's very much a day of a lot of light and a lot of darkness at the same time. And it's a case of choosing which direction you want to take. So let's move on to Friday now. Let's take a look at Friday's cards. It's suddenly got dark here, so I have just paused the video and opened the curtain. Hopefully it's not going to be too dark too quickly. But as the summer's coming to an end, our days are getting noticeably shorter here. If you don't live in England, we have quite a disparity in the length of our days, even on the south coast here. So our cards for, what day are we? Friday. I knew that. Friday we have number 20, Truth. I'm exhausted today. I'm just emotionally, spiritually kind of tired. So I apologise if I'm not making sense completely the whole way through or tripping over my words. I'm at a little bit of a tired phase of my cycle. So 20, Truth. 5, Transformation. 36, Koi Fish Spirit. There is always enough. And that's such a magical number. 36, 9. 369, that's the manifesting number. It's very, very magical energy, very magical numerology there on that 369. That's very much a sign that you can manifest things on Friday. There is a good opportunity on Friday to create, to manifest, to get what you want, basically. So Friday's cards, let's take a look here. So we have Truth and Transformation. Wow, the truth is that transformation is possible. And I think that's one of the most important messages to come out of Friday. We may see this play out more on the world stage as more truth tellers speak up, point out the lies and hypocrisy in those that would wish to govern or rule us right now, because there is so much dishonesty, so much, what's the word? Badness. So much dishonesty, you know. It's terrible, terrible people who want to rule the world right now. And there is even more truth coming out about them as we speak. And it's on a very feminine 20, 22. 2 plus 0 equals 2, so that reduces to 2, which brings us to High Priestess energy, which is very, very intuitive. So I think this is a day where we really can weigh up our options for the future, weigh up things on a personal level, but also on a national, international level as well. It'll be very interesting to see what's going on. And we can see the potential for transformation of the world, and we can see how it could be transformed in good ways or bad ways. And again, it's about us deciding which way we want it to go in, because the world is going to change. It's not going to stay the same, because it can't, because we're moving into new energy. We're moving into this new part of the cycle. We're moving into the age of Aquarius, whether we like it or not. That's happening. But we have a responsibility to understand what the truth is, to seek the truth, and to create this new reality in our image as we would wish it to be. So it can be full of love. It can be full of joy. It can be wonderful, and it will be wonderful. And I trust you lot. Okay, I just want to say is I trust you lot to do the right thing and to manifest this beautiful, harmonious world that we are all going to live in, and that the dark forces will just fade away from a little bit more every single day. Now let's take a look at our spirit message cards that come through here. Now this is interesting because there's a reminder here. You cannot raise others up by lowering yourself down. That's a very important message. Again, we got number 50 coming out. There's been lots of 10s coming out in this reading. This is some very transformational energy because there's a lot of zeros there. But it's very wise, very kind of guiding energy, I want to say. It's almost like spirit guide energy coming through with all of these numbers. 50 is a very mature number. You cannot raise others up by lowering yourself down. You cannot improve the standard of living of another person by reducing your own. Okay, and I think that's very pertinent at the moment. That is not how this works. You raise others up by helping them to help themselves. That is how it's done, or by facilitating them helping themselves, not by forcing them to go higher than they want to or that they're comfortable with. Okay, you can help raise others by healing yourself. Okay, the way you raise others is by reaching out your hand when you're above them to lift them up. Okay, by not stepping on them. Okay, so all of these people who talk about, you know, diversity quotas, or how it's helping people, or how, you know, oh, we have to prioritize these people and give these people a hard deal, or whatever it is. Look at the people who are saying these things, because the people at the top saying those things certainly aren't doing them. They are the ones that step on other people. They don't understand these notions at all. They understand how to be very harmful to other people, to divide and rule, but they do not understand how to truly raise up humanity. And if they do understand, they are certainly not doing it. Okay, this is not how you raise up other people. You don't do it by making yourself small. Okay, I can't make you successful by playing small. All right, it just won't work. It won't help anybody at all. I can't make you healthy by making myself sick. Yeah, I think it makes more sense when you put it in those terms, because it's the stupidest thing imaginable. Oh, I'll make myself ill and then you'll be healthier. What? That's ridiculous. That's utter nonsense. Okay, there is no lack in this world. We live in a very abundant world. It's all there. There are people who don't want to share it with us, and they make it seem as though it's not abundant by shutting a lot of it off, or saying it's all private property and we can't go there, and all this belongs to the crown, and this belongs to that billionaire. But at the end of the day, we live in a very, very abundant world. And this is one of the truths that I think will be coming out on Friday, and people finally maybe getting to grips with. And then we have this very beautiful message that you are loved on that 37-10-1. And this is the thing, it's the transformative energy of love that comes through here. And I realise I'm actually hugging myself as I'm saying these words. I didn't mean to do that. I'm glad I'm not on camera because I look silly, but I'm hugging myself as I say this, because it's this beautiful loving energy that comes through from spirit that says, it's okay. The truth is, you're all right. You're okay. You do have enough. You can totally cope with this transformation of humankind. You've got this. You can totally raise up humanity. You can raise each other up. You know, you can hold hands, you can lift each other up, you can work together in joy, in happiness, in abundance. It's all there for you. You know, we've got the magical 3-6-9 energy. There is always enough. Always. You know, this is a real sign of abundance, this beautiful golden koi carp. You know, there is always enough, and you are so loved by God. You are so loved. And I think that's what many of us forget, particularly people who don't have any sort of spirituality. And I think that's very sad. You know, and they have their reasons for that, and I respect that. But it's very sad when we forget that we are so loved by the divine. Okay, we are love. It is our very nature. And I think on some level, human beings know that, which is why love on a human level is so very, very important to us, because we know that's all there is. And last card for Friday, taking full responsibility for your life brings freedom on that 51-6. And that's exactly what I was saying about raising each other up. You know, you don't raise somebody else up by taking away all their responsibility. That's not how you teach a child to be responsible and how to deal with their own life, by taking away all the responsibility. That's how you create a dependent. Not somebody who has freedom. That's how you create somebody who has no freedom whatsoever, because they have no idea how to look after themselves, do anything for themselves. You know, that's a terrible thing to do to anyone. If you want to help somebody to be free and empowered, you teach them to take full responsibility for everything that happens to them, which sounds scary at first. It may even sound counterintuitive, but it is so freeing. Okay. So we're going to move on to the weekend. Let's go to Saturday. Saturday's cards. We have number 4, the heart chakra. We have number 5, the loving man. It's very loving energy coming through. And 62-8 Turtle Spirit. Slow and steady wins the race. Oh, that's lovely. Now, first of all, I want to say with the heart chakra and the loving man, this may actually be a day where romantic relationships are highlighted. And it does feel as though relationships can actually improve somewhat on Saturday. It feels as though we may be understanding that we can't necessarily have everything now, that people have to learn and grow, and that we should perhaps be a little bit more patient with each other. Patience certainly seems to be one of the magical keys on Saturday that I want to talk about. But it is okay. There is so much love and so much care coming through from the higher realms here. A lot of wisdom coming through as well. But a reminder, oh, look at this. Abundance is for everyone. Passion requires follow through. Okay, they're showing off now. They're showing off now. That's exactly what I was saying. Yes. If you're in a relationship, yeah, passion requires follow through. That's not what I was thinking of when I wrote that card. I was actually thinking about passion in work or projects or whatever. Yes, if you're passionate about something, you have to follow through and you have to continue to work on it. But exactly the same thing goes for human relationships, you know, particularly romantic ones. You have to keep putting in the work. You have to keep putting in the effort into the relationship. And it is one day at a time, one step at a time. That is how we move forwards together. That is you know, how we progress, how we grow, how we learn to love each other in new ways, how we learn to grow together, to experience new highs together, to go through lows together. That's how we do it. You know, just like how a turtle navigates the seas or the oceans, you know, he has to go up and down with the waves. You know, he understands very much that it's not all about plain sailing all the time, because it's not. So matters of the heart, I feel, very much highlighted on Saturday. And there is this beautiful reminder about abundance is for everyone. So that seems to be the theme this week. It's all about abundance in the most beautiful ways. So this can be abundance of love, abundance of passion, abundance of happiness, joy, abundance of people around us. We can have all of those things. We can be there for each other. Even if there's nobody in your life at the moment, it doesn't mean that you can't open your heart to allow somebody else to step in. Very, very beautiful energy today. Interesting as well, we've got the 33 here of the Christ consciousness. There's a very, very sacred energy. And this is about learning to embody the Christ consciousness and what we can bring to relationships when we reach that higher level of understanding, that higher level of being. What will our relationships look like at that level? Again, we're exploring, we're playing with this energy. It's fun, it's exciting. And then 48, which is the number of completion of karmic contract. Okay, yes, things do get tough sometimes. It's not always easy in the real world. But, you know, if we've entered into a karmic contract with somebody, we need to see it through one way or another. Okay, and that doesn't mean that you have to stay with somebody forever, but it does mean that we should put all of the effort that we can into our relationships. We should show the love and the care that that other person deserves. Okay, and not just expect them to do all of the giving. Okay, so our last card here is one of my favourites, which is cat energy. Okay, I like when cat energy shows up because very often this is advice in relationships. Okay, if you want somebody to come to you, sometimes you have to step away from them. All right, or walk away from them. And sometimes that can improve relationships. And I always give the example that when you meet a cat, cats are quite aloof, as we know. I mean, they're very loving, very sociable beings if we understand their body language and how they communicate. And if you want a cat to come to you, you should turn away from it or walk away from it. And then it may well come trotting after you to say, oh, where are you going? What are you doing? Whereas if you run towards a cat, they're going to run away. They don't like that. You know, that freaks them out. They don't know what to do with that. If you run at a cat, it runs away. And I want to say, if you're seeking a relationship at the moment, and this isn't about playing games, this is just about remembering that sometimes people will come to you if you let them. You've got to let the other person come to you. Maybe let the other person do the work, especially if you're a woman and you're used to sort of facilitating relationships, making it easy for your partner. Maybe it's time to let the other person come to you. Okay. And I think that's where we can find more balance when we stop trying to run after the other person. Sometimes it's a case of we don't have to run after them. You can really repel people by running after them. So take a leaf out of your cat's book and sit down, look the other way, walk the other direction, and soon enough they may be there walking behind you. Not in a stalker way. Right, moving on to Sunday now. Oh dear. Right. Hopefully not in the stalker way. So, Sunday's cards, we have 9, fulfillment of wishes. We have number 4, conflict. And we have 43, owl spirit, you see clearly now. I won't sing, don't worry, I won't. I really want to, but I'm not going to. Right, so very interesting bag of energy on Sunday. Very interesting. It feels almost like what you might consider the battle between good and evil hotting up a bit on Sunday. Now, it's not exactly a battle, but at the same time, it kind of plays out like that sometimes. You may see battles being fought on social media. I mean, when is that not happening, right? But you may actually see people standing up for what's right and trying to do the right thing, but then finding themselves in conflict with other people. Because, you know, we are trying to move towards this new energy now. We're trying to steer our world into a more loving, more accepting, abundant place for everybody, where we can all be happy, where everyone can be okay and have freedom. And there is conflict. It's a strong theme for Sunday, and I think the conflict will come up where people realise they've been cheated, where they realise they've been treated badly. So there may be protests on Sunday. It may be a day, you know, of uprisings. It may be a day for, you know, I don't know, storming the political buildings or something, whatever they're called in your country. But it feels very much like a day of rebellion, a day of anger, a day of actually speaking up and saying, hey, wait a minute, you know, I see what you're doing there. I can't believe I didn't notice that, but I see it now. And again, it may be a very, very disruptive energy. And I just want to remind you that, you know, what we resist persists. So conflict isn't necessarily the best way to resolve it. In fact, very often it's a terrible way to try and resolve it on the longer term. In the short term, yes, it may be necessary to defend yourself or to protect others. On the longer term, it's a terrible path to go down, because what you fight, you become. And if you go into a fight with anger, with hatred in your heart, wanting to hurt another person or harm another person because you think they are so bad, you are becoming what you dislike, what you hate, regardless of who the other person really is or really isn't. You are becoming what you are imagining that person is. That's extremely dangerous. And again, there's a lot of clarity coming through on Sunday about the danger of war, the danger of fighting, how bloodshed just leads to more bloodshed, anger leads to more anger. Okay, you don't fight fire with fire unless you want more fire. Okay, that's not smart. It's not clever. You fight fire with water. You put it out. You put the flames out. You counter it. You very carefully put it out. You dampen down the flames. You calm everything down, metaphorically speaking. So I think it's interesting because I think a lot of us will be able to see the world that we could have and realise how cheated we've been, how we've been lied to. Now, this could be happening on a personal level. It could be you realise that you've been cheated at work, by your family, by loved ones, by friends or people you thought were friends or acquaintances. It could be, you know, on a much bigger scale, on the community level, on the national, international level. You may be feeling very angry. There may be tempers flaring around you as people are learning new information, really seeing things much more clearly than they were before. And I'll just bring in these cards. We have learn to rest, not to quit on that number 1 energy. So it's almost like going back to beginner's mind, going back to a completely new way to look at the world. I think some people will literally be seeing the world for the first time on Sunday, but the true world that we live in, what it truly is and what it truly isn't, and that it isn't what we thought it was all of this time. It's actually this amazing place where, you know, we are all in this energetic soup together. It's not the concrete place that we thought it was. You know, and the things that we were told were truths perhaps weren't truths, or were only half truths to keep us here until we learned our own lessons. So it's definitely a day of awakening. Very interesting day. There's going to be some Kundalini risings. Some people are going to feel a bit crazy on Sunday. So if that's you, hang on in there. Spend time meditating, healing, in prayer. You know, ground yourself. Do what you need to do to ride through this storm, and lastly, don't try to force it on that 52-7. And that really is a message of wisdom that comes from us, from the union of the high priest and the high priestess together, on that very wise 52-7. Don't try to force it. Okay. Yes, we may be understanding the world in new ways. We may be having higher levels of understanding of what's going on, or realization what's going on around us. And oh my goodness, we can't let them get away with that. They're going to do this thing. Oh, but at the same time, there's no rush. Okay. Yes, we will get there. We will get there one step at a time, like the turtle said previously. Don't try to force it. Okay. Rome wasn't built in a day, and equally it wasn't destroyed in a day either. Okay. Step by step, we are building this new world that we are all going to live in, this new reality that we are all going to live in, that we're all going to exist in, and we already are to some degree. Don't try to force it. It's okay, step by step. All is well. Deep breath. So finally, we're going to move on to this week's spiritual guidance message. So this week's spiritual guidance card, we have 8, meditation. And we have 20, soul writing. Now, when I pulled these cards, it felt almost like we were rewriting our soul contracts this week. That was the message I got when I pulled these and looked at them. Like we're going to spend some time in meditation or contemplation, actually rewriting our soul contracts. Now, this is very, very big energy. It's almost like we have the ability this week to change course if we want to change course individually, but also as a collective if we want to make a course correction, to make some changes to these spiritual experiences or human experiences we're going to have when we are here. And we can choose whatever we want, but it feels like a very, very empowered week where we have this opportunity to make some very, very big differences in our own world, in our own lives. And it feels a little bit unprecedented as well, as though this is not something that human beings have really had the opportunity to do, or at least not in the past, goodness knows how many thousands of years. This is not something we've been empowered to do very much, or not to a very great degree, if at all. I think some people found the knowledge and the wisdom to actually do things like that, to change their own destiny. And this is what this is about. This is about changing your destiny, changing your fate. Things that were previously set in stone, we can rewrite. This is incredibly powerful. Now, I always say the future is not set in stone, so I'm not talking about the things that we already had a choice over. I'm talking about the things that we had agreed were set in stone for this lifetime, because there are always a few things that we kind of decide we're going to have experiences about, but it feels like the slate's being wiped clean. We can literally wipe the slate clean this week. We can meditate on what it is that we want, and we can actually choose a new direction. And the reminder, fertile soil grows the best carrots. And no is a complete sentence. Wow. Yeah. So this is about healing ourselves, spending time in meditation, in prayer, contemplation. Really, connecting with God, connecting with the highest energy of all, and really seeing what it is that we're going to do in this lifetime, and making some huge changes, the potential for gigantic changes there this week on an individual level, and also for the collective too. And of course, I was waiting for this one to come out, Kundalini rising. This is about the ascension of mankind now. This is big. This is a big, big week. This is about us growing on a spiritual level in ways that we haven't seen for thousands of years, since the times of Atlantis, Lemuria, and previously. This is very, very big energy. We have a huge opportunity now to step into a much higher, larger, more expansive, and more wise version of ourselves now. So it's okay to say no to the things we thought we were going to do, and we don't have to explain ourselves. No is a complete sentence. And yes, I know sentence is spelt wrong. There's a fun story behind that when I left it, because it does actually mean more that way. And it's a master builder number 24/6. What are we going to build now? What are we going to make the world look like? How are we going to choose to see it? Big, big energy. So if you've come this far with me right to the end of the video, if you can type in the comments, no is a complete sentence, feel free to spell it correctly. No is a complete sentence. Thank you so much for watching. I know this was a long one, but there was just so much my guides wanted to say this week, and it's going to be a very, very, very big week, very big energy. Please do remember to like this video, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have recently subscribed, hello and thank you so much. I'm seeing my subs go up every day. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me on this journey, and I will see you all again soon.